everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Ruth Markel's new book is now available on Amazon, and I hope that you all purchase your copy because if anything, I hope that we could offer Ruth Markel and her family some peace from the tragedies that they have endured, and the way that we can help them is giving them some support through this difficult time, and maybe reading this book and understanding some of the difficulties that the family has gone through. Shelley and Phil Markel too have gone through such terrible grief through this tragedy, and I wanted to share with you some of Ruth Markel's most incredible accomplishments. I want to share your comments below with her, so please share your most loving comments that you would love for Ruth to hear, and I will send them to her through email. And I just wanted to share with you this incredible media kit, and I will go ahead and read it to you. Ruth Markel is a noted author, public speaker, and the president of R&M Enterprises, a leading management consulting firm. She has worked in senior management positions in both private and public sectors for the past 40 years. Ruth has lectured on issues concerning negotiations and advancement in organizations at the University of Toronto, the London Business School, and Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson University. Due to the circumstances surrounding the murder of Ruth's son, Dan Markel, she has appeared on 2020 ABC, Inside Edition, and Dateline NBC, and participated in the hit podcast Over My Dead Body on Wondery. In 2016, Ruth was cut off from any contact with her grandson. With support from Dan's friends and extended networks, Ruth has used advocacy to inspire the Florida State Legislature to pass a grandparent visitation bill known as the Markel Act. The bill opens a legal path for grandparents in the event of a surviving parent is found criminally or civilly responsible for the death of the other parent while preserving the surviving parent's rights. Ruth hopes to use her platform and media coverage that is inevitable around the trial and provide consolation and counsel. Her story will help others through the experiences of grief from murders, victims of violence, and grandparent alienation. In addition to several TV and radio appearances, Ruth Markel's published work includes Moving Up, A Woman's Guide to a Better Future at Work, Room at the Top, A Woman's Guide to Moving Up in Business, and there are some other French titles that I am not able to pronounce. And I believe that some of these are available on Amazon, so I urge you guys to check them out. Beautiful, beautiful job, Ruth. We are in total awe. So just a few more things about Ruth. In the Unveiling, she describes her experiences since the day of Dan's death from several distinct perspectives. As a devastated mother, with a unique human perspective of becoming a homicide survivor victim. As a woman whose attempts to achieve normalcy and live a healthy life are continually interrupted by a roller coaster of hearings, frequently changing trial dates and verdict and appeals. As a engaged citizen, using what she has learned to help other victims of homicide and violent crimes recover from trauma and begin an optimistic outlook on life. As an insider who shows how our collective network of family and friends and experts, including murder coach, have helped her family remain involved, motivated, and hopeful. As a grandmother who has not been allowed to see her grandchildren in many years, she used advocacy to inspire the Florida State Legislature to pass a grandparent visitation bill. And as an experienced author of 9 books, using the written word to effectively address and shift from grief to promise. Orly Lobel, a distinguished law professor and the author of The Equality Machine, said about Ruth's book, a moving and powerful account of the autonomy and aftermath of a murder. No one is more qualified to tell the Markel story and its impact on the family other than his mother, Ruth Markel herself. Her wisdom and heartbreaking depths, Ruth tells a compelling story of grief, resilience, and hope. And we definitely look up to Ruth Markel and Shelley Markel and Phil Markel as a source of strength and wisdom through such a terrible tragedy. I want to go ahead and pass it to this article that I have written about Justice for Dan. right, everyone, now that we've gotten to know Ruth a little bit better and the Markel family and supporting the Markels, giving them a great big hug by buying Ruth Markel's book, and I was just thinking I wanted to share with you guys some of my thoughts about this whole Justice for Dan movement and group and how we can support, and also what does Justice for Dan look like. And I just wanted to share some of my thoughts and feelings about this case. I just put down a few paragraphs. I just want to read them to you guys. What does Justice for Dan Markel look like? Is it life for Charles Adelson in handcuffs and Mac Banua and Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera behind bars? Maybe it's Ruth Markel having poetic justice by publishing her 9th book. In an age of COVID and social media, how do we achieve swift justice? We can achieve it through communication, significant change in laws, learning from tragedy, and honoring the legacy of Dan Markel, who was gunned down in his driveway July 18, 2014. A kind comment or question on a blog can create a movement. Groups like Justice for Dan consist of people who want to see change in Florida and bring justice for Dan Markel and his loved ones. This change is growing with the passing of the Grandparents' Rights Bill in Florida. A large petition sparked huge change with this bill. Hopefully, families who have similar situations to the Markels will be able to have the right to see their grandchildren. People who follow the Dan Markel murder trial know that patience is a virtue. These days, delays on airplanes are as common as trial delays. The delays of the Catherine McManua trial and COVID guidelines have created new challenges. We have learned to give virtual hugs instead of real ones. Trial delays have taught us lessons about patience and inner peace. The Dan Markel murder has taught us so many things. How could we possibly repay Dan and the Markel family? Human rights and social injustice are a common theme in the Markel murder. These issues have reached a boiling point, and the trials have shed light on that. When 3 minorities are behind bars, while a wealthy white family is free, this case has magnified the divide. When does street smarts or book smarts turn into breaking the law? People worldwide are hooked on this case. The popularity of the Over My Dead Body podcast from Wondery, multiple news outlets, social media coverage, and public interest shows this case will live on. Dan Markel's legacy will be one for the textbooks. The question remains, what does justice for Dan look like? His students, children, family, and others will have to create it. Dan would be proud of the thousands of virtual hugs that have been sent to the Markel family. Mentor lawyer, Asian American legal focus, fancy fiction, Surviving the Survivor, Above the Law blog, Florida Politics, and Tax Prof blog have devoted hours of time to research this case. The state of Florida is doing a tremendous job with their teams, sparked so much discussion, inspiration, and research for the things he loved the most, law and justice. I've also been personally inspired by this case to start this YouTube channel and pretty much right now devote most of it to covering this Dan Markel case. And I just wanted to mention as a side note that I'm sure that the Markel family would not want any of us to be emotionally distraught or harass any of the lawyers involved in this case or any of the family members or innocent parties or anyone involved in this case. I think just for everybody's safety, please refrain from harassing anyone. I definitely do not condone that, and I definitely would encourage you guys. What Dan Markel probably would want is for us to research and learn about the law and how the law can benefit your life and justice will benefit the communities that we live in. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day, and I hope that everyone can be inspired by Ruth Markel and her book and the peace and the poise that she shows through her everyday life, and also the Markel family, how they are living peacefully with this tragedy. And let's continue to cover it, you guys. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching.